Hello, this is What's Wrong with My Picture, weekly reviews of artists who are in the beginning of their photography career. I choose very talented artists, so the bar is pretty high, but yet still, all of us, including me, have a room to grow and should always be reevaluating your work and improving. So let's see what could have been done better in this project. So this is work done by young artist based in New York. His name is En Lin, and this was a editorial personal project. It's called Untitled, and as you can see, that is set in a quite recognizable street outdoor area that you can tell that it's New York, which I really appreciate. I think it gives it already sets the mood and sets the vibe. So it's always a great idea to base your story or support the mood of your story based on your location. So it already helps you and gives you a certain production value. So okay, let's see. So this is an opening shot. We see a young man styled in a very interesting set of clothing, and what we see here that the photographer is mixing natural light and an artificial light source. What does it give to the picture? So we can see that there is a light kind of concentrated in this area, and then the rest of the picture is a little darker, so it's more of the actual exposure with the natural light versus the artificial light exposure here. So it gives it a certain feeling of kind of a snapshot aesthetic when you have a flash in someone's face, and then you get this vignetting kind of effect towards the edges of the picture. And the snapshot aesthetic gives it a more of a raw feeling. If you think back of all the snapshot pictures photographed with those like cameras where the flash was right above the camera or right on top of the camera, so it gives it kind of raw feeling, dark shadows, contrasty light in person's faces. So it's quite already a style. And I think it works quite well with the clothing that he's wearing, like with this bright, colorful, shiny fabric. I think it works quite well, but we are here to actually talk about what doesn't work. So to me, in this particular image is the model's expression. I think, with this shot being so dynamic, based on the colors of the clothes, of this kind of slightly rugged kind of environment, some back streets of New York, and the overall lighting and the mood of the situation, I think his face should produce a little more emotion to support that. So yes, you can rely on the model to do that for you, but as a photographer you need to make sure that your model is giving you the right look. And photography is mainly about creating a feeling, creating an emotional response in the viewer when they are looking at these pictures. So if it's not there yet, the viewer will get a little bit confused. How should I feel about this? Okay, let's take a look at the next shot. Same location, same outfit, but shown from the other angle. So we can see this other, it looks like a trench coat or some kind of parka jacket to me. Looks also quite cool. I like the same outfit or the same styling idea, having multiple different angles. I think it's great. The lighting kind of replicates the same idea, so I think it still works. But I would still expect more mood and more emotion in this picture. So the pose itself is maybe quite dynamic, but the face is very quiet and introspective, introverted almost. So maybe a little more dynamic, more connection, more stronger emotions in the face. What I also thought, when you shoot something with that snapshot aesthetic, might as well, it's just an idea, and since we're just talking about it, guys, might as well try to get even a raw result out of it. So if you add some movement into your shot, so when you're shooting with a flash, with additional artificial light, if the light is strong enough to actually incorporate that movement, so you freeze partially and then you have a slightly motion blur on a longer exposure, that will add the rawness to the overall mood of the picture. And it could have worked actually with this setting, with this close, but it's really up to you as an artist. But I'm just opening it up so you can explore this opportunity when you're working in this aesthetic with artificial light. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. I really like the composition in this one because it's much more dynamic pose. And as opposed to focusing maybe so much on the model's face, we follow the line of the clothes and the lines of his body and the body language. So all these dynamic lines, they create really interesting movement in the shot. So the composition really works here, and it gives us a much more stronger feeling as a viewer. We respond to this feeling much better. And also, I don't mind that there's not much artificial light in this one. It looks more of a natural light situation. There's maybe a bit more light here, but it's not so obvious as in the other shots. So maybe not so much contrast between the not lit part and the lit part. So it looks pretty much natural. So I think it's great. I think it really works. So yeah, I think this shot really sets the mood and really reflects the aesthetic of the whole story. Let's take a look at the next one. Interesting styling elements. I love what's going on here. Also looks like there's some artificial light added. Also in a more subtle way, like in the previous shot, which I quite like actually. What I would have done differently is definitely giving some more space, and maybe even considering changing the background a little bit, because this is a very interesting area to see what's going on here. Requires some cleaner background that doesn't distract so much from this. And I'm not saying that every fashion shoot should be about the clothing. Sometimes the clothing, or many times actually, the clothing is just there to support. But I think the styling here is so strong, it's so avant-garde. It's a mixture of colors and textures and layers and shapes. It's already such a strong story just developed by the styling that I would love the other elements to just be supportive of it. So because this is such an unusual element, I would love to see more negative space around it. And in general, even if there was no such bottom here, I feel like this shot in general needs a little bit more space, more room to just explore how dynamic can this pose be. What I mean by that, so we know that the movement starts from the foot. So what I mean by that, we know that this movement starts from the foot here and it goes, right? So it creates a certain curve, these lines. So they make this really dynamic movement from this corner going this way and this way. So let it go, let it grow, let it start growing from a lower point, so that movement can be even more enhanced. So don't crop it, don't shorten it. I hope you guys see what I mean. Okay, let's continue on. We have a couple more shots in the story. Also quite interesting styling decision here with this, and I like how the face is partially covered. And then we again kind of going back to the zone where the artificial light played a very strong role in here. So it's maybe a slightly different mood, but I don't mind it within the same story, as long as the main message of being very dynamic, very edgy, very kind of like young and upbeat, if it continues on from picture to picture. And maybe in this shot I would focus more on the face, for the reason that we don't see much dynamism going on here. I know it's the styling that also sometimes you want to include, but this pose doesn't say anything to us. So maybe the point of interest is more here, and it could have been a tighter crop, which is interesting to have in a story, to go from wider shots to more cropped shots, tighter shots, so that you don't kind of repeat yourself and give some more variety to the viewer. Next shot, very interesting. Love the low vantage point, and again, this one creates more dynamism because of that super low vantage point. So really good. Love the colors in the background. They really support what's going on in the clothes. Facial expression, I like what the photographer started kind of talking about this here, kind of like don't give an F kind of expression, which really goes with his outfit, and he's so young and his this graffiti background, but take it further. Don't be like halfway, don't be shy, just really take it further. Why not? You're a creator, you're free to make your own world. So love the shot, but could be taken even further. So in general, really great work, but I hope it makes sense to you guys that if you approach it with a critical eye, and of course it's harder to do as you are on set and you're shooting, but the more you think about it, the more you train your eye, you will start noticing it as you go along, as you working with your team, especially when you are directing your models. You will feel when you are not, when you haven't pushed enough yet, when you still feel that you can go further. So when you focus and maybe even have references to kind of look back, is this the mood that I'm going, and you can show those references to your model as well, so they can feel the mood and the emotion that you want them from their face, from their body language. Then it will make your job easier. But the most important part is just to keep it in the back of your mind as you shoot. So yeah, thank you so much, En Lin, for providing this work for the review. The credits will be given down below in the description of the video, so if you would like guys to check out En Lin's work and see more of his cool stuff, definitely do that. And thanks so much for watching.